Welcome back, South Jersey football fans, to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show, brought to us by South Jersey Glory Days. Mark Trible, joined as always by Coach Tim McAneney. Coach, a lot of red October. We got the Phillies hat back here. We're maybe multitasking the second half of the show. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I guess we're playing into the we're the fill-in during the rain delay, which isn't bad for South Jersey football fans. You get to watch a little high school football before Phillies take game 2.
Yeah, maybe keep it on in the background. You know, usually when you watch baseball, you usually have the radio on in the background with the broadcast. But in this case, maybe South Jersey Football Frenzy Show in the background as you're watching the Phils take a 2-0 lead in the series, we hope.
That's the plan.
Good to see some familiar faces in here. Derek, Dwayne, William, Tom, of course, our buddy Tom Pagic. His showcase sign-up is live. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And Walter Hurd as well. Hello, everybody. We hope you guys are doing well. Lots to touch on. There's only 2 weeks left of the regular season now. It's playoff
It's crazy.
time,
When you put that in your tweet or your, I was like, what? Two games left.
Right there.
I know. It's the new world, right? We'll get right into it.
The phone calls are starting up of where's my team going to be. You know, I'm not going to mention any names, but some coaches out there doing some research of where we're going to fall. Now, did that ever happen to you, Mac, where you're kind of going in that last week or two and wanting to see how the position would shake out exactly and doing your simulations?
It was a little easier then because they didn't kind of do the giant snake draft with their snake seedings with the all 16. So you kind of had you had an idea around week 5 or 6, but we had our math guys. Martino's,
yeah.
we had our because you wanted to scout too.
Right.
I mean, you wanted to get some guys' eyes on teams, and yourself included. So you had to you were trying to get a feel on who was what, and but you got to keep the eyes on what's going on too, because you got to continue to take care of your own business.
Well, you not only wanted to see who was what, but the formula was formula. Apologize. Was a little bit reduced back then to some more simple if and then. But real quick, before we get into what happened last week, tell our viewers the story of Vince Mack got a phone call about making the playoffs one year.
Well, what
did he say?
Okay, I think it was 1974-ish, and the NJSIAA didn't have an established formula for playoffs. So I think they were making phone calls, and they said, "Vince, we want you in the playoffs." And my dad was like, "Well, who's in it?" And I think it was like Bridgeton, Vineland. Minnick's going to correct me here on the exact.
He probably will.
But he says, "Is Camden in it?" They're like, "No." He's like, "Well, I can't be in the playoffs because Camden beat us." Right? I think Ramsey and Still. And he's like, I can't accept the invite or the bid because Camden High in good conscience, they kicked our butts during the season. So Pennsauken, they turned down that bid. Eventually, there became more of a process to get into the playoffs besides a couple phone calls to teams who had, 7-1, 8-0 records. But that's
humble to a fault.
Well, that's how most coaches understand.
Kevin Minnick said to me on Saturday, we were talking, maybe it was Friday, I don't know, days run together. Kevin was at both the games I was at, and he said, you need Rod. I didn't tell Rod this yet, but he said, you need Rod to come up with a graphic that when Vince Mack gets brought up, it's just a ding, and a little thing like comes in the screen.
Like welcome to Wrexham when their coach gets...
Yeah, do you watch it?
Yeah, it's good show. When his coach gets passionate.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
Bing! Yeah. Bing!
We may have to work on that for the playoffs, Ron.
That's a good one. I like it.
We're glad to have you back, Ron. It's just good to have you back. We have a lot to touch on, and in fact, I think Coach Mack, this will be number 2. Ding! Vince Mack, number 2. I think he may have been looking down on his Pennsauken Code Red brethren the other night. We're going to get to that.
Every once in a while, he does. We used to say him and some guys up there take a liking because we all know there's the football. Yeah. There's some guys that reach down every once in a while and help the squads out that they're near and dear to, and that was one that we're going to touch on it and probably show some of it.
And isn't that the beauty of high school football, those of us who've been around programs specifically, right? You're program affiliated. Through the years, as time goes on, you remember the guy who was either the coach or the groundskeeper or the people who never missed a game. And when things kind of bounce your favor, such as that fumble at the end of the game, you could say, that was Mr. Joe Blow. He was around tonight, as he always was. So he kind of passes through, and you have those folks. All right, we got a lot to cover tonight. We're going to go through what happened last week, the big events. We're going to talk about our game of the week coming up, our Cherry Hill Dodge game of the week. This weekend is going to be on Friday night. Some other important matchups to deal with the playoff seeding. We're going to try to move around as quickly as we can so Matt can watch the Phils, so we can both watch the Phils. Sorry, Dwayne, for the sore spot. The Mets aren't playing tonight. But without further ado.
They're playing golf.
The Mets are going?
Playing golf.
All right.
Okay,
All right. That's it, Dwayne. That's it from us. Without further ado, last Friday, Pittman beats Lower Cape May 40-6. Pittman, a couple years ago, they had to go to just a JV team, and they're in pretty decent playoff shape, so congratulations to the Panthers on that one. Pleasantville 13, Clayton 8. Wildwood beats Lindenwold 32-12. Bordentown 21-18 over Burlington City. Cherry Hill West tops Triton 21-7. Cumberland 20, Gateway 8. Glassboro 22, Pennsgrove 2. All right, just a safety for the Red Devils. Florence 24, Palmyra 19 in that rivalry clash. Oakcrest 23, EHT 14. Kingsway in another rivalry game beats Clearview, the Battle of 322, 49-7. Haddon Heights rolls Camden Catholic 40-13. West Defford, they also roll against Sterling 70-6. Audubon 20, Collingswood 14. That game was in triple overtime. The Green Waves sneak past their rival. Middle Township 28, Buna 20. Haddon Township 45, Holy Cross 16. On Saturday, Cherry Hill East 40, Princeton 14. Camden East Side 35, Burlington Township 6. If you missed that game and you want to see it, go back and watch it on the YouTube channel for D2 Sports Network. The game is up there. Rod was there. Pemberton 33, New Egypt 0, Gloucester Catholic 28, Riverside 14, and Mastery Charter 6, School of the Future, Pennsylvania. School of the Future, 6-0. All right. A little bit more detail, Mac. First, let's go ahead and talk about Pennsauken, right? They entered the weekend as one of the 6 unbeatens left in South Jersey. They left the weekend as one of the 3 unbeaten in South Jersey. They beat Willingboro. They're up 19-0 at halftime. Rod was there on the D2 Sports Network also. They are up 19-0 at halftime on Willingboro. Willingboro charges back and has the ball, looking to finish it off. And I think, Mac, before we talk about the details, I think this would be the nod of the week, right?
It would have to be.
Premier win, Willingboro. Yeah, go ahead and run it, Rod. His last name's Win for a reason. He made it happen here, and as you can see, never say quit. This is in the last couple minutes. Ball is out, and there he goes. Premier win. Another premier win for Pennsauken. The slow-mo brought to us courtesy of, I believe, C.J. Dominguez, right, of Gridiron Access. Great work there. Slow motion, you can see the ball is definitely out right there. Ball is out.
Look how athletic too, right? It's a scoop, score, go. I mean,
and 21 there. I mean, he's going in there to dive for it, and just happens to be blocked out of the play by Pennsauken.
But when he may not only recovers fumble, he knows situation where he's got to get up and go with it, because that's not an easy play. I mean, and knowing the situation they're in, and being down, big knot for the Indians.
We've had some great knots of the week, but I got to say, between Rod's broadcast and that, I think that was the best produced knot of the week we had. We had great quality, 2 angles. That's crazy. Great job.
And situationally, right? It wasn't a scoop score to make it 35-0. It was a scoop score to win a football game.
To win a football game.
Yeah.
Rod, what was going through your mind when you were watching that?
I couldn't believe that Pennsauken kind of put themselves in that position.
Yeah.
I mean, you go up 19-0 and then have Willingboro come back, and I mean, you watch that game. Willenboro just started to just smash mouth football.
Yeah.
They said, forget throwing the ball. We're going to run the ball down your throat. They did that, and then they were getting ready to ice the game.
Right.
And the fumble happens. It's like you couldn't believe it.
Right. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Played to the final whistle.
Remind you of Giants Eagles.
Yeah.
Herm Edwards deal.
Here's one. The kickoff, the ensuing kickoff, they kick it off. Pennsauken kicks it to Willenboro. Ball goes high and drops in front of the return man. Pennsauken recovers. Ends the game right there.
Right. Special teams play to end it. And, it's, I mean, again, high school football, mistakes, opportunity. Pennsauken. I think Pennsauken is feeling a little, not getting all the love in South Jersey, right? They're sick. They're winning football games. They got a lot of talent. And this is they're I know Coach Tab in that room's like, you know what? Forget about everybody else. Forget about the idiots in the media and all that. We can self-included, right? They're going to keep doing what they do. And then right now it's winning football games.
As a self-proclaimed idiot, I would agree. Go ahead, Ray.
It's hard to win football games. So if you're 6-0 at this point, you had to go through some battles. I mean, the team that they played, Willenboro, lost the last couple of weeks on last-second plays.
Tight games.
Right.
I mean, it's hard to win football games, and I think sometimes fans, we tend to overlook that.
Yeah, our buddy Mike McEwen, who lost in triple overtime in a heartbreaker to Audubon, tweeted something to that effect after the Eagles game on Sunday, that it's hard to win football games. And the Eagles hadn't done it in 21 years in Arizona. Not that, they'd had a lot of bad losses there, but special teams in that one, right? And it was both sides. You have the made field goal, the missed field goal. There was a fake punt earlier in the game. And the game of the week, we'll talk about that as well. But, hey, man,
What's our
good
theme,
game.
right? Win ugly instead of lose pretty. I mean, yeah, you bring up the Eagles. The Eagles are up 14. And then the Cardinals aren't going away, and then you get people on Monday complaining about the Eagles' effort. You kidding me? You go out to the West Coast and you win a football game, and your team's 6-0,
Right.
5-0 or whatever.
They stay undefeated. Pennsauken stays undefeated. A win is a win, and this week's Not of the Week is a premier win. So
Yes, sir.
Let's just tie that up right there. In other action, Highland continues their role. They beat Eastern 27-14. Angelo Rodriguez, 149 yards rushing and a touchdown. Millville beat Shawnee. Mac, you were there, 21-10. Jacob Zamot throws for 245. He throws for a touchdown. Thomas Smith, 2 rushing touchdowns. Latsier Brooks caught that touchdown. What was your impressions of the Bolts? They needed to recalibrate. You feel like they
did, and like Shawnee had its opportunities inside the red zone, and just but the game just felt like Millville. We talked about this last week, but again, Marcus Offer, Francisco Aquino, linemen, right? Darian Blackowitz, Edison Aldino, and Kevin White. Sorry for the mispronunciation on some of those guys. But that front five, you could, if you're watching the game, someone said to me, he's like, what's, I said, just watch. They're just physically getting off the ball and, handling the line of scrimmage. And Millville had a stinger the week prior. And then now they're going on the road again. They're at Shawnee, staying in that Lenape district. So, now Shawnee's kind of a little bit reeling, right? They started out 3-0. They've lost 4. Coach Gush and crew over there. I mean, again, I'm familiar with some of the players.
Yeah.
One of them specifically lives in my house, and they're losing to really good football. I mean, when you lose to a Millville and a St. Augustine and a Cherokee by a score and a Winslow, I mean, so that we've talked about this in prior shows. How do you make sure you keep your kids focused, keep your guys in the right spot, and can you bounce back? Because in 2 weeks playoffs start, and as we're seeing in every sport and every level, new season.
Right, brand new season. Shawnee again this week has another tall test we'll talk about, and so does Millville for that matter. So elsewhere, another big game. Lenape tops Cherokee 12-7. Zaire Goffney Fleming 194 rush yards and a touchdown, and Michael LeMay with an incredible punt return touchdown. Again, probably would have been our Not of the Week if not for the heroics for Pennsauken staying unbeaten. But Mac, Again, Lenape finds a way. This team, things are just rolling in the right direction. It's easy to say that when you got number 8 to give the ball to. He's going in the right direction.
Well, he's fallen for 6, as we've talked about, right? Zaire just and the energy he brings to the football team, you know, and the LeMay punt return, that was the only scoring. And look, the Lenape defense, Coach Perry and Woj putting together game plans week after week, doing what they do there. I mean, keeping Cherokee to 7 points. Because Glatzy and Coach Megan, they're two of the best what they do. So, but then Lenape keeping it simple, right at the end, right? Just, 8s and I've gotten, here's a ding. I've gotten yelled at from my dad after games. They're like, "Do you know that guy who's in your backfield is the best kid on the field?" Well, Dad, I kind of thought that they, sometimes coaches, I'm going to decoy but there was no decoy for Lenape with Zaire Fleming. It was we're gonna 21 rushes, 194 yards.
Well, it's a credit to Marty and the job that he's done calling plays for that young man, and the job that Woj and them have done on defense. I look at this and say, they've been great up front, and Fleming has been their superhero coming on the scene, and LeMay has been as advertised. Defense gave up 7 points on the road at the bowl. That's WOJ. That's Woj.
Yeah, that's impressive stuff.
That's bringing it in. So, congratulations to Lenape as they can continue to move forward with their season. And Cherokee has an opportunity this week to get back on track. St. Augustine tops Williamstown 38-20. Julian Turney, 132 rush yards, 2 touchdowns. Tristan McClear, 101 rush yards and 2 touchdowns. Pete Lancetta, congratulations, Coach, on your 250th win. A lot of wins.
That is a lot of wins.
Maybe the quickest to 250, not necessarily in games played, but the length of the games. Elapsed time.
That's true, too. And then Coach Lancetta still looks like he's in his 40s. So, he was winning games in his teens, we think.
Absolutely. St. Joe, a team that Coach Lancetta is very familiar with, they beat Ocean City 7-3. Zach Crew at 3 receptions, 93 yards, and the game's lone touchdown pass from Jimmy Mantuano. Not a lot of offense here down by the boardwalk, but St. Joe pulls it out 7-3. The other parochial team down there to round out the Trinity, Holy Spirit, they did the opposite. They scored 50, beat Vineland. They were down 10-0 earlier. They beat Vineland 50-24. Sean Burns, 305 pass yards, 3 touchdowns. He ran for 3 touchdowns. Gavin Roman, 2-time Hat Man, 11 receptions, 143 yards, and a touchdown. He broke the school's single-season receptions record in only 7 games.
He broke his own record, maybe.
Yeah, Gavin Roman, really, really good. Lanos has been really, really good. Burns has been outstanding. I think as of last week, he was leading the state in passing. Holy Spirit has some serious dudes. We know that. We've seen it. But I keep going back to Charlie Roman reinvents this team every year. The offensive identity to suit his personnel. You hear that all the time in pros, right? Well, you got to play to your personnel. We don't see it as much in high school from year to year. There's guys that have identities.
You used to see it more. I mean, high school was about playing to who you have in your stable, and you figure out what you got, and you go with what you have. Now it's like sometimes coaches get caught up with, I want to run this type of offense because this is what I want to do, or this is what I think that people want to see. You got to go with what you got, and they're going with their guys. And I've seen Sean Burns live early in the season. He's getting better each week. And then the Roman kid just makes plays all over. So fun team to watch. If you're a Spirit fan.
Very fun. They've put up some massive numbers this year. And if you remember a couple of years ago when they ended up #1 in South Jersey, they had Cheek Smith running the ball, and they ran it all the time. So they always find a way to kind of change the identity. Hamilton, they don't need to change the identity. Let's run the ball. 28-7 over Timber Creek. Kenny Smith, 100 yards on the ground. He had all the touchdowns. He ran for 3 of them. He caught the other one. And Mainland, the only team to beat Hamilton this year. They beat Absegami 54-13. Jabril Mace, 3 touchdowns on the ground. Speaking of that, Alan Packard, 3 rush touchdowns as Atlantic City beats Bridgeton 46-0. RV 36, Delram 14. Delram was up early in this one. Jace Dieter with 3 rushing touchdowns as Garrett Lucas gets a win against his former team. Maple Shade knocks Cinnaminson from ranks of unbeaten 14-0. Sean Loomis had 4 interceptions. And Thomas, I'm going to mispronounce this, Thomas, but God bless you, he had a great game. Thomas Kalia Morris, 3 interceptions. They had 7 interceptions, Mac. They pitched a shutout.
That's 7. When you have 7, maybe not throw the ball as much on the other side. You're hitting 7
After
picks.
4, maybe. Yeah.
That's
What a game by Maple Shade, who is, you look at those rankings now.
right.
They're sneaky where they are, right? They're way up at the top. They've had a nice season. Rod.
Yeah, they're right around number 3 right now in their group.
Yeah.
Mario likes to pound it. He's usually traditionally keeping it. But that's a lot of picks. I'm surprised the game was 14 with 7 picks.
Yeah. Well, speaks of the defense of the Pirates. There was a lot of defense going on in that game. 14-0.
Sudden changes.
Chris Baker, our guy, thank you, Chris, so much for your help with the show all year. He states that Elijah Stewart, another, I think, 2-time Hat Man, at least one time. I think he might have had it twice. He held the record for Holy Spirit, so Gavin broke it. It was just set a couple years ago, but it's no surprise it came from that offense. Overbrook beats Pennsville 42-12. New school record for touchdowns and yards in a game for D'Angelo Conquest, and he'd said it before. He throws for 386 and 6 touchdowns. David Haywood catches 8 balls for 225 yards, 3 of them touchdowns. We said 3 of the teams were knocked from the Unbeatens. We had 6, and now we have 3. We said Pennsauken's one of them. The other one's Seneca. Fish and Company beat Moorestown 35-7. I believe they scored 35 unanswered. They keep it going, and they're going to get Cinnaminson this week.
And Cinnaminson coming off, we just talked about tough loss, 5-1. I mean,
some thought it might be a matchup of Unbeatens. 7 interceptions derailed that.
Yeah, it did. But now Cinnaminson's going to be,
ready.
Kind of little exactly. Well, so it's going into playing an undefeated team. I think it's at Seneca, so I think it's only their second home game of the season on that new turf. So should be a good one too.
Yes, Stephen, the other is Delsey. Delsey does remain unbeaten. Sal Marquez becomes the all-time wins leader at Delsey, passing John Oberg as they beat Cedar Creek 35-6. And 2 others here. Gloucester beats Deptford 7-3. Jake Zierfoss throws a touchdown to Jake Seibert, the quarterback, trick play, at the end to win it for the Lions. Shalleck beats Eustis 52-0. You said the Golden Fedora needs some offensive linemen. And you know what? Seneca listened to you. I mean, not Seneca. Shalleck listened to you. David, Detective Sipowicz, filled in an offensive line due to an absence and helped Shalleck rush for 458 yards in that game.
458.
The Golden Fedora shoutouts will continue every time Shalleck hands one out.
And speaking of, back to not to just skirt over Delsey, who continue to do what they do. You got Jake Fallon and Juan Romer. Ashton
Thank
Blows,
you, Coach Bryles, for sending this.
Todd Murray, and I'm going to Danny DiGio, Danny DiGiovicino. Someone's going to help me with that pronunciation. I guess they call him Danny D. Dia G. Vicino. Wow, that's a lot of syllables there. But Danny and Jake and Juan and Ashton and Todd on the offensive line there for Delsey. I mean, that keeps that engine going there. So 35-6 against Cedar Creek.
Yeah, Ashton Blows is an absolute monster up front for them on both sides of the ball. Big number 66. Really terrific player for Delsey. He's one of the anchors of that very talented line. Saturday, Northern Burlington tops Paul to 6, 21-7. Clark Norway runs for 169 yards and a touchdown. Woodbury beats Woodstown 28-6. I was there. Jabron Solomon and Anthony Reagan Jr. each scored twice. The Herd dominated this one from the beginning. The rankings say what they say right now in terms of the overall points. But the team to beat in Group 1, south of Trenton and possibly in the entire state, right now is Woodbury, without a question. They had their way early and often against the Wolverines. Now, not far from there, and at halftime of that game, I called down to Paulsboro and found out they were at halftime. They had an extra long halftime because it's homecoming. Sprinted down to Paulsboro, where Salem led at halftime. Added to their lead in the beginning of the second half with a field goal to go up 16-7. Paulsboro charges back with 16 unanswered. They had a key fourth down conversion on their side of the field in the third quarter. Coach Harvey dials it up. The Borough is now 3-3. They were 0-3.
Right.
Look, Rocco Pellegrini, 2 touchdown passes in the second half. He had 1 in the first half, got the hat. And Breon Hardy with an interception on a deflection in the second half. Paulsboro has recalibrated. And I saw Coach Glenn Howard after the game, and he was pretty happy.
Well, of course he was. I mean, look, I'm sure they had a little bit. I mean, Coach Harvey being part of the Red Raiders forever, but new adjustment, new head coach. That takes a little bit getting used to. But in Paulsboro, it's interesting, right? You got Woodstown who beat Salem last week, and then Woodstown goes. Were they coming off too much of an emotional win the prior week against Salem? Salem probably thought they kind of had this one not. Kind of handled at 16-7, and then, Paulsboro, to their credit, comes back. So, again, the Group 1s it's interesting. It'll be the South Jersey Group 1 tournament's going to be a real fun.
Oh, yeah, no question. And to those of you, I know Chris just mentioned it in the chat. To those of you who watch the show on YouTube, we don't have those comments up. So we do have the Facebook comments up. We need like a big ticker that just is all that, or something.
A big ticker, Rod.
A big ticker.
Like an underscroll. Yeah, like a
Rod's got it.
like right.
Here's a YouTube right here on the screen.
Oh, that's YouTube.
Here's a YouTube comment.
Here we go. One of my new favorite shows. That's exactly what we want to see. We need more comments just like that. Thank you for watching. We're glad to have you. Washington Township Saturday night beats Winslow 35-14. Giuliano Scavetta 139 rush yards, 3 total touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 1 receiving. And the Cherry Hill Dodge game of the week, Mac, was Camden and Haddonfield at Haddonfield. Camden wins 7-3. The defense just would not allow that touchdown. I don't know how many snaps they had inside their own 25-yard line, but it was a lot. Only gave up 1 field goal. There was a missed field goal a couple times. They stood tall, but the play of the game, and anybody who follows South Jersey football knows what the play of the game was, is Taquan Brittingham, senior defensive back, calls the shot. Says to Coach Hinson, the fake punt is there. Coach looks, calls timeout. It is there. They went with it. It worked. 70 yards on 4th and 1 from his own 12-yard line in the last, I think it was 2.5 minutes or something like that. Camden High gets a big win at Haddonfield, 7-3.
Right, going fake.
Let me ask you this.
Fake punt after a timeout. It's always interesting, right?
I don't want you to say anything negative here. It's not soapbox time. But I do want to ask this in a way that you'll use your discretion.
Okay.
Rod's laughing. I mean this seriously.
Rod, here's
I mean
Mac,
you understand what I say.
Give me this answer, Mac, right here. Go ahead, Trib.
You'll understand this when I ask the question. How would you determine the level of trust you have in a kid to take his advice on a play like that? Like what type of, like Matt LaJoy in your championship season, he could come over and tell you that water wasn't wet, and you'd say, you're right, Matt, we'll go with you. But if it's, where do you draw that line of, okay, is it somebody you know is very observant in practice? Is it somebody that's a senior? Is it game experience? How do you decipher that? I mean, you know the players individually, you know who you trust and who you don't. In a moment like that.
Yeah, all the above. You don't need, it doesn't have to be a senior, but it has to be someone that, are you caught up in the emotion? A lot of times you make decisions in a game sometimes out of emotion, which can be good too, right? That going for 2 to win a game. Knowing what the right time to do that. But in these situations, look, Camden felt good that I'm sure Coach had the back of his mind. Look, if they needed a touchdown to beat them, and they hadn't fared well in the red zone. Field goal wasn't going to do it. So,
And they had a drop punt snap the time before.
Correct. So you look at some of those things that had happened in the past on, so to answer your question, you got to trust the look. I mean, you're probably getting some upstairs, hence the timeout. You say, look, is it really there? You got some, the kids, kids always want, you put a fake punt in camp in August, they'll tell you, your fullback and for us, we ran the 3 across, the 3 bears. They'll tell you, Coach, it's there. It's there. We can get fake punt. I'm like, okay, we got a pretty good punter too, so I want to kick it 50 yards too. So time and a place, but having that trust where that kid's got to know. Look, if I'm going to say something to Coach is probably going to listen because of that relationship that they have. Not every kid is going to get that same level,
right?
But
well, and if it's 4th and 3, Coach Henson probably says, you know what? Why don't you just go out there and we'll punt the ball. Right. But at the same time, I think it's interesting, right? Who you kind of know who's a quiet guy who wouldn't say it unless he knows. Like, who's the selfless guy who isn't talking about like this is a play called for him. All those factors, you learn a kid's personality and characters.
Look, I'll go back to this is Bishop Eustace days. We were we were late getting a play in. It was a playoff game, and we were playing DePaul and my quarterback, who ended up going to West Point and wrestling for Jimmy Rafferty, Coach Martino and I are thinking we'll play, and he gives us the hand like, I got it. And, Marty's like, should we call a timeout? What do we do? And I'm like, let's see what he has. And he called a jet sweep off of one of our wings to one of the running backs, because usually in high school you give carte blanche to your quarterback. Typically, sometimes, mostly, it might go in the air a little bit, but we trusted Jimmy, and was that type of guy. And we went jet sweep for 40 yards around the edge, and we got it. So situationals, kids, depends on what's going on.
7-3, Camden continues its season. They have not lost in the state, one of our top teams. Stay tuned to the end of the show, find out where exactly they are in the poll, and same with Haddon.
And then running that wheel, too, is Kelly Bryant, Antoine Stanley, right? Yaz Best, Israel Banks, Jameer Nix. Nix, Banks, Best, Stanley Bryant, right? Good law firm right there. I like the firm.
The firm.
The firm. Camden High.
The Camden High firm.
They are getting it done, and part of the reason they're Camden High is Camden High right now.
They are clicking. Fun game, exciting game. We got a lot of games this week that are going to be the same way. We have our game of the week, our rankings. We got a lot to talk about here. I want to give a shout out here to Anwar, Amber, Steven. Walter Hurd says his coach would have let him coach Donahue. Pretty good one. So he really trusted him. We got George in here, Paulsboro. We're going to talk about Paulsboro's game this week against the Firm. Stay tuned. Share it out. We'll be back right after this on the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show.
The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is sponsored by Mall Chevrolet on Haddonfield Road. Mall Chevy is South Jersey's largest Chevy dealer and has been a big part in helping our community grow. They're proud to sponsor South Jersey High School football. Mall Chevy is our area's go-to dealership with the largest selection of brand new Chevys and a huge inventory of pre-owned vehicles, plus an award-winning 5-star service department. They're located on Haddonfield Road across from the Cherry Hill Mall, or visit them at mallchevy.com. Special thank you to Dave O'Sullivan of South Jersey Glory Days, sjglorydays.com. South Jersey Glory Days brings us a platform that we've been on here for the last couple of years. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show would not be possible without him. Visit Sully's website, sjglorydays.com. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is also sponsored by Atlantic Chrysler Jeep Fiat. Located on Tilton Road in Egg Harbor Township, it's been a big part in helping the community grow. Proud to sponsor South Jersey High School football. Atlantic Chrysler Jeep Fiat. Tremendous selection of brand new cars and pre-owned vehicles. An award-winning service department. A presenting sponsor of the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. The show is also sponsored by Jersey Gridiron Scout. Coach Tom Padgick is Jersey Gridiron Scout, the premier recruiting service platform for all middle school and high school prospects in the tri-state area when it comes to football. Jersey Gridiron Scout does 3 things for football prospects. One, they have a senior showcase in December and an underclassmen showcase in May for high school prospects to be evaluated in front of more than 50 colleges. Two, they have off-season winter indoor position trainings for youth, high school, and college prospects from January to June at the Fieldhouse in Moorestown. And three, they educate families on the college football recruiting process and timeline. Check out Tom's website at jerseygridironscout.com for more information. Follow him on Instagram at jerseygridironscout and on Twitter at Coach Pajic. That's at Coach Pajic. South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is also sponsored by Cherry Hill Jeep on Route 70, home of the real zero down deal. For over 50 years, Cherry Hill Jeep's been a big part in helping the community grow, and they remain proud to sponsor South Jersey High School football.
Welcome back, folks, to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. We're going to take a look at some of the action we have coming up next week. We're also going to multitask a little bit here. We got the game, the Phillies game on my phone, so if you see Mac looking down, he's checking it out. It's going to be a very, I don't know the best way to explain this, interactive event.
I thought you were going to say distracted event.
You just don't jump up if somebody hits a home run.
Well, why not?
All right, Friday, Mac.
Wheeler looks like he's dealing early. That's all I can say.
That's a good start.
Yeah, it's a good sign. Looks like he's comfortable with the 7:30 start. Yeah. I digress. Go ahead.
Well, you were a little nervous about the earlier start because we'd be in crunch time here.
I was extremely nervous. Thank God you were able to call MLB and push it to 7:30, so we're in a good spot.
The Rain Man. All right. Yep. Come on, AC with a bye week. Big game the following week. You're absolutely right. The Vikings have things clicking, man. They've been on a roll. Let's talk about what we do have this week. Hamilton is hosting Delsey at 6 p.m. This is your soapbox bowl, Mac. The big men up front are going to get a lot of the glory. We got Jared Shoppy and Kenny Smith as the guys that are probably going to lead the team in carries, right? These games over the past, they've had some classics between the two teams. They have the same helmet, different colors. They've run the same offense with different colors, and it is, we always joke about it, but it is the quickest game in town.
A little bit of a rock fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's establishing the run up front, which what they do, but both teams will pull out some situational play action. If you're going to see they're throwing. These are the type of games where you can't be throwing at 3rd and 7, right? Each team's probably going to get the ball 6 series, 7 series, maybe. So you're in those 6 or 7 series, probably 1 or 2 of them you're going to start first down with a play action pass. And you're going to obviously play tough defense, field position, all the boring adages that I talk about every week. But in this one, it's going to really hold true.
Yeah, if you are a run game purist, that is the place to be on Friday night at Hamilton. Delsey rolls in there undefeated. Hamilton's lost once to Mainland. They got back on track. They've been clicking. Kenny Smith is one of the better running backs in South Jersey. So if you love the run game, if you love the blocking, if you love the wing tee, all that stuff, you'd like your game played right in a phone booth, the phone booth is at Hamilton.
Well, I also want to kind of clarify, as much as when the fans are watching the spread offense and all what's going on, akin to what patterns the receivers are running, et cetera. These offensive lines are just as intricate in what they do as to what that pass game is doing at the 2nd and 3rd level. Mm-hmm. I know it's difficult to watch as a fan to see all that happening. I guess the only easiest thing we talked about in prior weeks too is, try to get your eyes on Jason Kelsey every once in a while. Now, it's not what they at the pro level. They're not doing as much trapping, so to speak, and pulling and running some wing tee fronts like the Delseys and Hamilton will. But the things they do athletically, with the offensive line and. Some run guys do enjoy watching how these run teams play against each other.
Absolutely. All right, Rod. Bryce Harper's up. You might have to put the screen on me on this one. Kingsway at Cherokee, Friday night at 6 p.m. The Dragons are a team that right now, they kind of need that signature win. I would say Washington Township earlier in the season is that for them. But Cherokee needs to bounce back after their loss to Lenape. This is an interesting game because last year at this time they played and Cherokee ran away with it. They were up 28-0 late. It ends up Kingsway tacks on a touchdown, 28-7. I was there. The game was not really that close. But it's Kingsway who ends up going winning the sectional championship. They recalibrated and pared things down. They end up going to Rutgers where they fell to Hillsborough in that regional bowl game. This is an interesting game. Again, these teams, you figure at some point when the brackets come out, they both have had the same goal from day one. And if they're going to get there, they may well have to go through each other at some point.
Well, right. I mean, preseason-wise, Kingsway was a team. Get down.
It's a double.
Yep, go. And Kingsway was a team that had the high expectations, right?
Yep.
Some early loss, and now playing at Cherokee, they need to be. This is a type of game we talked about. This Cherokee lost last week to Lenape, and now they're playing home again.
Yep.
Again, our Kevin Minnick, Chuck Langerman, somebody in this, is going to tell us. Cherokee doesn't lose too many times in a row at home, back-to-back weeks, and Kingsway's got to break that because they need to get on that signature win, so to speak, for this season to get, they're winning, they're moving along. So it's a big one, as you say, for seedings, for playoffs, et cetera, and a possible rematch down the line somewhere.
No question about it. And as you talk about the playoffs last year in Group 4 in South Jersey, the championship was Ocean City at Millville. That game is going to be repeated again on Friday night as well at 6 p.m. at Wheaton Field. That was the only loss Ocean City had last season, and it was a big one, 40-3 in that championship. Ocean City, defensively, they've given up 13 points in the last 2 weeks, and they've lost both. They have scored 9 points in the last 3 games, and they have Hamilton up next. They're firmly in the playoffs right now. A win would be huge for seeding, and in Group 4, you're going to want to play at home, especially down there when the wind kicks up and it's cold. There's Ocean City games.
Yep.
The Bolts got back to business last week, beating Shawnee, which we talked about earlier. They have Cherokee next week. I know you always talk, I always look ahead. I think you have to sometimes when we're looking at it to see falls between Shawnee and Cherokee. Your attention has to be on Ocean City, though, especially with the way they've got to find some offense. The Raiders got to find some offense.
Millville wanted to, coming off of that Lenape sting, taking care of Shawnee, and now, and then having, we can talk about the fact that they got Cherokee next week. But they got to keep focused inside the room, making sure that they take care of what they got to take care of.
Yeah, it's contrast in styles. We said this last year between the defense, slugfest mentality. Though Millville has not put up points this year as they were accustomed to doing last year, but they can. It doesn't take much. It takes a really small crack for them to blow it open. So we'll see. That's one definitely that's worth watching. Also worth watching, I want to make sure we mention this. I know I sent a text out, but I want to mention it again because he always watches the show. Saturday, as I was leaving Paulsboro, Mr. Hamilton told me, he said, tell Hickson, you're next. The Paulsboro supporter, send a message to Will Hickson. Camden High is hosting Paulsboro, 6 p.m. on Friday night. That'd be a good one. Raiders are back in the thick of it, 3 consecutive wins. Now they're starting to get things going, and the High, of course, escaped at Haddonfield, and they are still rolling the way they have been. This is going to be a fun one, I think. 6 p.m. at Farnham Park. We'll see how it goes, man. Paulsboro looks really, really good at this point and just continues to rally behind Coach Kevin Harvey in his first season. Of course, Coach Hinson, this is his first season at Camden High, and they've been rolling from the beginning. So I think it's a fascinating matchup. It's one that was circled on a lot of calendars when the schedule came out. What do you think, Mac?
Well, Paulsboro, again, on the upswing after 3 straight wins in a row, going to Camden. I mean, how does Camden, does Camden look at it like, wow, we got out of Dodge, we pulled this one out against Haddonfield? Sometimes those emotional bumps those emotions can take a lot out of you emotionally and getting it back-to-back up for each game, or sometimes it can give you a bounce. I mean, that's, great opportunity. Again, at Camden, tough place to play, tough place to win. And I think Camden High wants to get their ship a little more righted offensively.
Right. And speaking of that, these two teams come in with losses. They're probably they're definitely two of the better small school teams in the state. In Group 2, Haddonfield lost that game 7-3. And Woodstown, we talked about that loss at Woodbury. They are going to play at Woodstown at 7 p.m. on Friday night. One of them is going to have to stop the skid before it starts, and the other one will have 2 games in a row that they've lost. I look at Haddonfield's ability always to play that wing tee. Woodstown, of course, you know what they're going to do. It's a tough environment to play on Friday night. But that Woodstown, man, it's
an event
raucous.
Down there. Yeah, it's an event. Absolutely.
The Haddons.
Yeah. And that's, look, that again, both teams will need to regroup, and both well coached. Coach Adams, Coach Delano. I mean, they're this is a South Jersey final game, right? A South Jersey when you got the Woodburys and the Salems, and the Haddonfields and Woodstown, et cetera. These are some previews of the next 3, 4, 5 weeks.
And I think when you look at these matchups, geographically, they're not exactly next to each other, some of these places. But they're really intriguing in the way the schedule makers did it, because like Kingsway and Cherokee, we know about that one, right? Delsea and Hamilton, we know about that one. But Ocean City and Millville, running that back off last year's championship. Paulsboro and Camden don't traditionally play each other. Good matchup. Woodstown, Haddonfield, same way. And this next one, I would agree with as well. Salem and West Deptford. Now, West Deptford, they're just on the outside looking in if the playoffs started today in Group 2. But they've been close to that signature win we talk about a few times. They lost by a touchdown to Woodbury. They lost by a touchdown to Haddonfield. They lost by less than a touchdown to Paulsboro late. Very, very close. They are a lot better than their record indicates. They're catching a Salem team that 2 weeks in a row has just not done enough offensively. They look like they're struggling a little bit on that side of the ball. And West Deptford is hosting this thing at 7 p.m. They really need this win to make the playoffs. So another fascinating matchup between teams that don't always see each other.
Right. And, the Salem's 2 in a row now. I mean, that doesn't usually happen for them lately. So having to go West Deptford, we talk about another tough place to play.
Very tough.
We've talked about these schedules for these teams, right? Mm-hmm. These, West Deptford. Someone said to me the other day, "What's wrong with West Deptford?" I said, "What do you mean what's wrong? They played Woodbury, Haddonfield, and Paulsboro. There's nothing wrong with them." And the next game that we're going to talk about, the Shawnee Washington Township. Shawnee losing 3-4 in a row.
Yeah.
Township winning a couple 3 in a row.
That's at 7 p.m., Mac, at Washington Township. I know you'll be there. Shawnee starts this thing out 3-0. They've lost 4 in a row since then. The other side of it is Washington Township started out 1-3, and now they've won 3 in a row. They're 4-3. In 2020, in that opener, in that short season because of COVID, Washington Township beat Shawnee. You were there, and you talked about how much it meant to you with the band and the cannon and all this stuff. 20-13. It was really a springboard for Coach Schatzman in the program. They go back on Friday night at 7 p.m. Washington Township will host Shawnee in a game that.
Well, Schatzman understands. Well, yeah, he understands high school football, the history of the South Jersey. That playing Shawnee is look. Shawnee's circled on a lot of calendars for a lot of teams each week. I mean, they're a team that people like to beat.
Well, Coach Gushu always says nobody's going to feel bad for Shawnee.
Oh, they don't. I mean, Gush has 270 or 60 some ton wins, and again, nobody does feel bad for when they beat Shawnee. Shawnee's got to get ready every week to get everybody's best game, because that's tends to be the nature of the Group 4 and Group 5 when they're playing them. So, Going at Township, like I said, 2 years ago, this was an interesting start of the season, the COVID year. Right in the ship versus a team on the rise. It's another toughie for the Renegades, but this is how their playoffs are going to play out. Group 4 is not easy.
No, it's not. They certainly are in the juggernaut. Those are the games on Friday night. Saturday, I want to mention 4 big rivalry games here that are available to attend if you're looking for a game on Saturday. You got Burlington City at Palmyra. That's at 11 a.m. Cherry Hill West, Cherry Hill East at 11 a.m. Oak Crest at Cedar Creek at noon. And Northern Burlington at Rancocas Valley at 2 p.m. Also Saturday, this will be on the D2 Sports Network. St. Augustine at Camden Eastside. Talk about teams that don't usually play each other. Well, this would definitely be one of them. I don't know if they've ever played, and if they have, it's been a long time. 1 p.m. kickoff. It seems like the Hermits have figured out the offensive side of things. 38 points in consecutive games. The Tigers have gotten healthy, gotten bodies in the lineup. They're on a little bit of a streak here as well. There's only one way to experience Mike Rozier Stadium for the first time, and that's experience it for the first time. St. Augustine will be there. Mac, interesting matchup, right?
Yeah, the one you don't usually see, right? Coming up from Richland to go to east side of Camden. And I would argue that Camden East Side's a different squad than it was 3-4 weeks ago.
No question about it.
At a couple dudes and some different outcomes. And, like you said, it's Rozier Stadium. It's, Augie better be ready to strap it on and play there.
No question. Remember, you can watch that on D2 Sports Network, 1 p.m. on Saturday. Our buddy Rod will have the live broadcast. Mac, it'll be an abbreviated soapbox today, obviously, because we want to get out of here in time for the 7th inning stretch. But 6 p.m. start times, Mac.
Yeah.
It's something we've touched on in the past briefly, but let's give you the firm soapbox treatment.
Should I be more mad at MLB not being able to get their times right for the playoffs for Major League Baseball? I digress.
You don't like 6 p.m. start times for high school football?
I don't like 6 p.m. start times because here's why. You're talking about the geographic. You just were alluding to.
Yeah.
Oh well, you got so and so. You got this team plays this Paulsboro, Camden, 6 p.m. Right?
Kingsway, Cherokee.
Kingsway, Cherokee, 6 p.m. I don't know if anybody's ever trying to get past 42 at 5 o'clock when you're trying to get to a game. I mean, hey ADs, guess what? Parents want to see these things and they want to see opening kickoffs. I get sub-varsity games, 3:45, I understand it. I don't get the 6 o'clock start. I know Cape Atlantic did it for years. Didn't really appreciate when we had to come down and play crossovers from Cape Atlantic. We had to go down from Burlington County to go play some of those squads at 6 o'clock. But hey, it's their home game. They can do what they do, and it just seems like you'd kind of want to 7. It's not even dark at 6 anymore.
It's a double-edged sword for me. I see it. I was talking about this with Woodbury on Saturday at 10:30. I know Greg Mack and some others who are usually in here commenting don't care for the 10:30 kickoff on Saturday mornings. I don't care for it when it's starting, but once it starts, I feel great about it. I feel the same way on 6 p.m. I'm always relieved when it's 7 p.m. start. I think, okay, I can do what I have to do. I can get ready. I've got extra time. I might be able to get a bite, a healthy bite, not a walkie taco bite.
Which are fantastic.
Which are fantastic. But I can get my stuff together if there's traffic, which Lord knows, coming from the city across the bridge. There's always, you never really can be too sure what's going to happen. You try to chart it out, you get there, but when the game starts and you see these other games going final and you're at halftime, you're like, I kind of wish it was a 6 p.m. start. So it's a double-edged sword. I do see from that side, the 6 p.m. What I don't like is that it's not uniform at this point. Why doesn't everybody play at 6:30?
Look, there's your happy medium. I get it. Listen, I like night games to be at night. So that's why I like it closer to 7. Now, I get it. 7 o'clock in September, it's still going to be light out. I found out the other day.
But not now.
No, I know this will be the last time we fall back, because when we spring forward next year, we will spring forward forever.
Really?
Yeah, this is it. This is the last fall back.
If I'd known that, that would have been my soapbox.
We are going to stay in daylight savings time come 2023.
Really?
Yeah, in March when we spring forward, it's going to be forever. So imagine now how how it's dark now. It's going to get, and we gain an hour in about 2 weeks, but now we're not going to gain that hour back come next year. Do I sound like Ben Franklin a little bit?
Well, it's disappointing. I mean, I guess
You like daylight savings, don't you?
I love fall back is one of the most underrated things that exists.
Well, that's
People say, "Oh, well, it gets dark so early." I'm like, you mean to tell me I go to bed and get an extra hour of sleep
for that one
in
weekend.
the fall? We don't have time in the fall.
Right.
I mean, if you cover baseball and you don't want that spring forward, that's on you. Fall back, we need that extra hour, man. We need that rest.
I think the spring forward has.
Rod is laughing more tonight than he's laughed usually.
Well,
What's
hey,
in the water over there, Rod?
look, it comes back to I like the game. Selfishly, I like playing night games at night, and then also logistically, I like when bleachers are full.
Yeah.
And that's maybe soapbox for another day. Like some of these geographic games, which might look good on paper, some of the teams can't travel as well. And it's not because it's just a far ride.
Well, if you're working a 9 to 5 and you're down in, say, Millville, and you have to go all the way up to Shawnee, that hour, you have to get out of work on time, not miss any traffic to get there on time for the game. Like it's really tough, and a lot of places that you work at don't want to let you out a extra half hour early to go see your son
Go
every
see high school football.
Right,
every
to go see a high
weekend.
school football
Yeah.
game. So, and and then sometimes the bands don't travel because it's a farther travel. Don't give me Michigan's band doesn't go to Indiana. Why? That's a whole other. Don't even give me. Why is Michigan not at a Big Ten game? And it's on Fox, by the way, last week.
Does that have to do with
Well, then we got into travel. Then I thought about the bands from high school. Sometimes I travel, and then I thought about it. Michigan didn't bring its band on Saturday.
there was no Hail to the Victors Valiant?
I didn't mind not hearing that, but it was 10, 10 and a half, and Michigan, you get no, yeah. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? If you're watching this, Coach Harbaugh, get it together, man. Get the band on the road. I bet you they go on the road to some of the. Maybe that's what you do if you're Indiana's coach. Say, guys, to get where we need to be, they need to think it's appropriate to bring the band here. The band takes a weekend off when they come to Bloomington.
Well, it was a 10-10 game at half, and
I bet you the band comes on the road when they play basketball there.
you know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you get a Bobby Knight sweater? They sell them? Are
They
they disassociated or they?
Nah, they
welcomed-
have folded Bob back into the mix there. They kind of, it's one of those, it's like Woody at Ohio State, right? You're out for a little bit, and then every once in a while,
Yep. They kind of slightly
they-
bring you
they
back,
trickle
and
Woody
everybody
back
forgets
in.
to choke.
I just want to know, not the sweater. I want to know if you have the Hoosier pants.
the pants, I'm working on it. I mean,
All right.
you can get the sweats are one thing. The candy cane golf pants
Yeah,
are what
that's what you need.
are the tough pull.
As Will Hickson says, the Camden High Band does travel. They were great again on Friday night. Da, na, na, na. Love them. One of the best things in South Jersey high school
Camden
football.
High's been the best band since I was
Since band
since
started.
band was band, 1975.
Since they started giving out instruments. It was
Correct.
Camden High. I mean, that's why we don't even do a best 11 band ranking. It's not even fair. Nobody else has a shot.
There's some good ones.
There
but
are.
Camden's a tough one to beat.
Cedar Creek is one of my favorites because I remember when they first started a few years ago, they had like 6 kids. And as time goes on, they really developed that thing. Also, really, really like Kingsways. Remember that, Rod? They were awesome.
Yeah, Kingsway is really good. They have a really good band.
Williamstown does a good job.
Williamstown does a good job. I kind of like Winslow as well. I like them.
Winslow does a good job with band. Washington Township. There's someone else I heard the other day. It was really, really good too.
Shawnee's always got one. I mean, the Lenape schools are all pretty good. Cherokee's is good. Cherokee's gets out.
Woodstown.
Woodstown.
They have a small band, but they're very, very good. Kevin Emmons brings up a good point. The busing shortages, that doesn't help things either. Malcolm X Shabazz.
Kevin.
Dwayne, up north, says he has one of the best bands.
Oh, yeah. Kevin. I don't want to.
No, go ahead.
But, Kevin, here's the deal. You'd think the 7 would help because during the day you got some 3:45 field hockey games,
Well, that's
soccer
what he's
games,
saying.
etc.
He's saying you're right.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I don't usually hear I'm right.
Kevin, here's the deal.
Kevin,
you're right.
I don't usually hear I'm right too often, so I apologize. Not here, not home, not really anywhere.
Well, at least your mom didn't say in the comments, Mac's the only one who has a clue because of the daylight savings time. Just get a jab from my mom. We'll be back right after this, guys. We're going to talk about the Cherry Hill Jeep Game of the Week, or Cherry Hill Dodge Jeep Game of the Week. It's a big one. Tom Pagic has a couple kids you want to watch in that game, and we also are going to unveil the latest edition of the Best 11 rankings. So sit tight. We'll be back right after this with our final segment of the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show.
The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is sponsored by TurnersvilleJeep.com on Route 42 in Turnersville. Turnersville Jeep is proud to sponsor South Jersey High School football. TurnersvilleJeep.com has a huge inventory of Jeeps, Chryslers, Dodges, and Ram trucks, all brand new. They also have a ton of pre-owned vehicles, plus an award-winning 5-star service department. Drive a little and save a lot at TurnersvilleJeep.com. They're located on Route 42 in Turnersville, or visit TurnersvilleJeep.com. The show is also sponsored by the West Jersey Football Coaches Association, established to promote, improve, and unite football in South Jersey. In less than 2 years, the association has created the Battle at the Beach and has dedicated itself to helping others. The association has donated more than $20,000 to date to provide scholarships and help those in need. South Jersey, let me tell you about my friends over at SRA Home Products, who also sponsor the show. SRA has been building sunrooms, pergolas, and patio covers for over 25 years. They have built more than 9,000 projects in the Delaware Valley. I've had the opportunity to be around owner Mike Fody, and I have nothing but the best things to say about Mike and his crew. SRA is a gold-accredited member of the Better Business Bureau under the elite provider status with Home Advisor, and they've racked up numerous Best of South Jersey awards in the past. They contribute to multiple sport associations and are huge supporters of Williamstown football. Find them online at srahomeproducts.com. Thank you to our sponsor, Ricky Moriello at Remax Community. If you or someone you know is looking for real estate in South Jersey, find Ricky and reach out to him. He's helped us bring this show to you each week for the last couple of years. We can't be more grateful for that. He knows where to find your real estate. Give him a ring at 609-352-9476. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show is also sponsored by Cherry Hill Kia and Cherry Hill Mitsubishi on Route 70. If you want to talk about top-notch selection and service that's the best around, take your car to either of these dealerships. You won't be disappointed. And while you're there, you could probably talk some ball too. These guys love South Jersey football. Get over to Cherry Hill Kia or Cherry Hill Mitsubishi today.
Our game of the week is sponsored by Cherry Hill Jeep on Route 70, home of the real zero-down deal. For over 50 years, Cherry Hill Jeep's been a big part in helping the community grow. They are proud to sponsor South Jersey High School football. They're the go-to dealership with the largest selection of new Jeeps, Chryslers, Dodges, and Ram trucks, and they've got a large inventory of pre-owned vehicles as well. Show them a selfie of yourself, of course, who else would it be of, at the game of the week, and you'll receive a free oil change until next Friday. They're located on Route 70 in Cherry Hill, or visit cherryhilljeep.com. Tell them we sent you. Take your selfie at the game of the week. We are ready to wind up this final segment with that game of the week, Mac, 7 p.m. Friday on the brand new turf at Lenape, across from Johnson's Farm. Might get down there a little early, see what kind of baked goods they have. This is the time of the year for Johnson's Farm in Medford. Lenape hosts St. Joe Two teams that have just continued to keep it going. We know what the defenses are like. I expect a low-scoring game in this one. This could go pretty quickly, too, in terms of the clientele on both sides and running the ball. Players to watch, and thank you, Coach Tom Pagic, for your help always on the show. Be sure to sign up for Coach Pagic's Senior Showcase the first week of December. You can find him on Twitter at Coach Pagic, Pajic, to sign up for that. Here's the players he says to watch. St. Joe, he likes running back, linebacker, Richard Chandler, number 25, 5'11", 195-pound senior. Solid two-way player, has a ton of production. 4 rush touchdowns, a pick 6, a couple sacks, and several tackles for loss. A quick, explosive player with the ball in his hands and a physical presence at linebacker. He wants to shout out these linemen for Lenape. Ricky Tesoro, Jordan Silver, Mike Citarone, Matt Nasielski. Naselski? Okay.
AJ Gola.
AJ Gola, of course. AJ Gola, we know Mr. Gola is a big fan of the show. And he says, of course, the guys to watch, and we know who they are for Lenape. He's going with it again this week. The guys who scored last week. Running back, Zaire Goffney, Fleming, and defensive back, receiver, returner, Michael LeMay. Lenape, St. Joe, what do you think, Mac?
Good. Not a matchup you typically see.
Another one.
I don't know the last time they played, if they've played series. Kevin. I don't know if he's.
I wouldn't think so.
Is Kevin multitasking tonight? I don't know. I don't know if they've played in the past. I will tell you, both are kind of built the same way, right? We're going to play defense. We're going to do the right things. We're going to play special teams hard. We're going to run the football. We're not. If a play works, we're going to run it again. And if it works again, we're going to run it again. And there's nothing wrong with it.
We got one game left until the playoffs, and
after this,
yeah, okay. And the pairings come out next Sunday. Derek is right. I don't know what time that is. We'll have to figure that out, Rod. Maybe we'll have to line up the Sunday show with that. But regardless, I'm thinking out loud. Playoffs are coming up. There are some games that show the barometer of certain teams' offenses, defenses, whatever. Then there are games that remind you of playoff football is here. It's a little chilly, and teams are hitting.
Yeah, this is
going to be a game where guys are hitting.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel when you leave there, the playoffs are here.
Yeah.
Even though these teams are nowhere near each other in terms of where they participate in the postseason.
No.
It's going to feel like a postseason type game and atmosphere in Medford.
Look, strap it on. I mean, look, it's Lenape knows who St. Joe's is. They know their pedigree and all the things they've done. St. Joe's is always trying to say they can play with the big boys, right? The Group 4s, the 5s. And
they have been.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And they have been. This is another opportunity for Coach Saka and his boys to say, hey, we deserve to be in the conversation with these big boys all the time. Mm-hmm. And getting a chance to play at the venue, their place, at Lenape, new field. Again, a big for both teams.
Well, and let's not understate what St. Joe has done this season to date. St. Joe has lost one game to St. Augustine. They've had no home games. They have no home games. It's Coach Sacco's last season. It's a staff that looks drastically different from that he's had in years past. And still, here they are. Every week in, week out, they beat Willingboro by a touchdown. They beat Cedar Creek in the last minute. They beat Ocean City 7-3. Talk about finding ways to win.
Well, that's part of it.
And really, we take St. Joe winning for granted because St. Joe has won big for so many years. But what that looked like looks a lot. This isn't Bill Bendig Field on Saturday afternoons where you come in there and teams are just overwhelmed. They haven't played at home. I just think a credit to Coach Sacco, that staff, and those kids, because this is not your older brother's St. Joe even.
No, a little different.
This is a much different situation, and they have continued to win.
Yeah, well, that's because that's been instilled in that culture with the St. Joe program. And you're going to see a very well played football game on Friday night at Lenape.
No doubt about it.
Yep, two great staffs. I mean, great football players, fun, as you said, hard hitting, physical football.
Hard hitting, and in Virginia sometimes they call it rootin' tootin', right? Hard hitting, rootin' tootin' football. Coach Will Hickson says he's got Phillies fever, so do we. So we're going to try to, and I know that's where Kevin Minnick is right now. He's watching the game, as many of our friends and colleagues are. But
we're on pace for a 2.5-hour baseball game right now with the way these guys are dealing.
Tomorrow afternoon, Kevin will text me and say, St. Joe and Lenape have never played. He'll answer your question. He always watches the show. All right, let's do our best 11 rankings here, Mac. Number 11, those Hermits of St. Augustine, 38 points in consecutive weeks. As we mentioned, the offense is getting it going here, and they head to Camden Eastside on Saturday at 1 p.m. in what should be a pretty interesting game. It's 1 p.m., right, Rod?
Yes. 1 p.m. Yep.
Watch that on the D2 Sports Network, St. Augustine at number 11. Number 10, Pennsauken. They had the miracle last week against Willingboro. They remain undefeated. They are one of 3 unbeatens in South Jersey remaining. Code Red at number 10, Mac.
Still feeling a little disrespected, I'm sure, at 10. They can take care of what they need to take care of. They're in Group 4. They're in a playoff brackets with all the big boys that they feel that they should be in that conversation with. They just keep doing what they're doing, and they'll be fine.
Number 9, Woodbury. Their lone loss was to Haddonfield, and last week they took it to Woodstown. They're off this week, and they will play at Salem in the regular season finale. Congratulations to Jabron Solomon last week for getting the hat. He's one of the most exciting players. If you follow me on Twitter or anything, I say it every time I mention the kid. He's one of the most exciting players in South Jersey. He doesn't touch it all the time with all the weapons they have, but when he does, it's a pretty safe bet. It's either going to the end zone or going pretty close to that. So congratulations, Jabron. Woodbury at number 9. Haddonfield at number 8. This is where they were last week. You can make the case they should move up with their performance. 7-3, they lost to Camden High. I'll tell you what, this is still the team to beat in Group 2, from my opinion. Mac, they were down a man last week due to injury. Should be back, one of the backs, Mr. Klaus. But still right there with Camden High, who we know how good Camden High is.
Yeah, great game. Great. I mean, like you said, didn't lose any ground because playing a top team in Camden High.
How could they? 7, Millville. Millville took care of Shawnee on the road. Have another big one this week in a rematch of last year's South Jersey Group 4 championship as they welcome Ocean City to Wheaton Field. Number 7 is Millville. The team Millville will wrap up the season with is Cherokee. That's who we have at number 6. They lost last week 12-7 to Lenape. Someone asked in the chat if Brandon Bam Berea is back for the Chiefs. He is not back yet, but I believe he is expected back at some point here soon. Number 5 is a team that handed Cherokee that loss, and a part of our Game of the Week action this week, presented by Cherry Hill Jeep, Lenape. The Tribe, you got the L right there. That's the only one they've seen in about 5 weeks. They just keep it going.
Well, now that we're out of the district, we're not playing Cherokee and Shawnee especially. I kind of figure I could throw some, they end up with the 2 parochial schools. Everybody knows I'm a Lenape fan. Plus, it's a little bit of red tonight,
Little Red October. Mac, you can do whatever you want, but make sure you give credit where it's due on the daylight savings thing. I mean, your wife, Tracy, she says, ask you where you found out.
Yeah, she updated me on the latest and greatest of daylight savings.
When you drive to Bloomington, Indiana, you got a lot to talk about, don't you?
Or not a lot at all. Little.
Lenape is that.
We both made it. We're both back.
Yeah, we're back.
That's the key. You take a long trip. Long as both of you are back, we're good.
We're both here.
We're good.
You're
And we
back.
found out about daylight savings time, so we got to go.
Yeah. It applies in Indiana as well.
We
So
try-
even though, as we learned off air, they operate by some different rules in Indiana.
Right, and we tried to talk through the Targaryen family tree, but we couldn't do that either. So,
Oh boy, number 4, Holy Spirit. They continue to do what they've been doing. Put up 50 points last week. Sean Burns has just been stellar with the arm. Coach Andrew DePasquale, I hope I pronounced that right. It might be DePasquale. Either way, Andrew, you're doing a heck of a job in your first year as the Spartans are at number 4. The Spartans have one loss, and that was to our number 3 team, St. Joe, who goes to Lenape in our game of the week. They just keep finding ways to win. Good defense. Very, very good defense. Number 2, Camden High. They remain there after the 7-3 win over Haddonfield. They welcome Paulsboro on Friday night to Farnham Park at 6 p.m. And number 1, still one of the 3 unbeatens left in South Jersey, the Delsey Crusaders. Congratulations, Coach Marquez, for passing John Oberg on the wins list. Big one this week at Hamilton. A long time ago, I covered a Delsey and Hamilton game, and it was very interesting. I think Hamilton won that one, but again, I know it moved very quickly. That is our best 11 rankings for the week. 2 quick shout-outs here. Oh, that looks great, Rod. I love how that. You know what that reminds me of? Family Feud. Next week, let's do it. Let's animate it.
What, a little
Survey says.
All right, Richard
Camden
Dawson.
High.
All right, Richard Dawson. Finish
Survey says.
Finish it up.
Bryce is up again. 1 man on. 3-1 count.
It's hitters count right now.
Hitters count.
It'd be nice if you went yard right at the tail end of our show.
They're all hitters counts for Bryce.
But that was a big cut right there.
Big cut. I want to give a special shout out to a friend of the program and a friend of ours, Joe Petrilli, who is headed to Miami to work for the Dolphins and Hard Rock Stadium. Joe is one of the best videographers in South Jersey. He's done a lot to help college athletes and high school athletes in the area. You can follow him at Joe Petrilli Films on Twitter. I think that's the same account on Instagram as well. Joe has been stellar, and I want to thank him for everything he's done in South Jersey. And good luck, Joe, as you go down to South Beach. Think of us, remember us as you're onward and upward. It's well-deserved. Best of luck. And, of course, the man is back here tonight. He did a lot of laughing. We're going to do a lot of laughing Sunday morning on the Hats Off podcast. Rod Self, D2 Sports Network, will have the St. Augustine and Camden Eastside game 1 p.m. on Saturday. Rod had the Willingboro-Pennsauken game where we had our Nod of the Week. Be sure to go back and watch that. Studio B here. Perfect night. Thank you, Rod. I cannot recommend him enough. Be sure to tune in Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Hats Off Podcast. Special guest. He joined us last year. He's going to join us again this year to talk Cowboys and Birds. Justin Tinsley of ESPN. We're going to do a little trash talk, but in the meantime, we're going to... Max says I got to wear the hat.
Listen.
You know how I feel about hats.
It's been 11 years. Playoffs. Phillies are now on their 14th road game. 10 in the end of the season.
I gave you that stat to begin with weeks ago.
But that wasn't really a stat. That's just some factual that they've had that many games. I think it's helped them, to be honest. They've been on the road together. They're traveling together. Same hotels. You know, get little team. Go.
VRBOs.
Go, Nick. Go, Nick.
Look out.
Wow. Quick fourth.
We're heading to the bottom of the fourth. The score is Atlanta 0 and the Phillies 0. Until next time, South Jersey football fans and South Jersey baseball fans. Thanks for watching.